My name is Colin Charleston. Thank you so much for being here. I'm the immediate past president of Westonka Community and Commerce. This is our first go at the event. So if we could all just close our eyes and imagine that the auditorium is full of people. It just feels so much better. No, in all honesty, thank you for being here. This event was scheduled in February, and we had a snow-nami. And about a week ago, I looked at the forecast and I went, we're going to have to cancel it again. And thankfully, it warmed up. So I think the weather probably paid some effect on tonight's turnout. But thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being concerned citizens. I do some legislative work in my profession, and I can tell you wholeheartedly that not only our legislators, but also our community leaders, they really do appreciate our feedback from our constituents, and just thank you so much for being here and being involved in the process. I just want to bring on our speakers. We're going to have them all come up at once here. So first, I'll introduce Denny Walsh. Denny is the mayor of Orono. Denny, thank you for being here. Next, we have Lisa Whalen, mayor of Minnetrista, who could somewhat be considered host for the evening because we're in Minnetrista, aren't we? Ray Salazar, mayor of Mound. Eric Hoversten, who is the city manager of Mound. And of course, Kevin Borg, superintendent of Westonka Schools. So we're going to start with Kevin tonight. Kevin's going to give you guys a little bit of an update on what's happening in the schools and probably a little bit about this beautiful new facility we're standing in. So Kevin, I'll flip it to you.
Fantastic. Welcome. It's great to have you in our building. If this is your first time in the building and you would like a little bit of a tour afterwards, I can be happy to show you around some of the spaces around our Performing Arts Center. But it's great to have you here. I'm going to take you through just a few slides of just this center, and I'm also going to take you through a little bit of what's happening in the school district. I'm wondering if, Max, can we get the slides? There we go. Fantastic. So up on the screens, I'm going to show you a few different slides, but before I get into the slides, back in 2016, this community decided to take action, and they decided to approve a bond referendum for this facility in the Activity Center. And our students and our staff and so many that use it, we can't say this enough. Thank you. It is a wonderful facility for our community. It's wonderful for our students. It's really an honor to have you in it. So at that time, this question came forward, and it was for $23 million. And it was for the Performing Arts in the Activity Center. We instantly got some good news after it passed that the interest rates were lower than what we were communicating, and it came in $3.7 million under what financing was, which roughly saved on a $300,000 house. It brought it from about $6.40 a month to $5.40 a month for how we finance this bond. And so right out of the chute, we had some really good news. And then from there, we were able to go forward and design, and we actually opened it up here at the end of September. And I just want to take you through a couple slides of what you can see if you were in the space. And so you have the front of the Activity Center. If you haven't been there, if you just keep on going around the school, it's back by our loading dock. And so there's your entrance. And one thing that we wanted to do with this facility is that the community felt welcome. It was really important to us that this did not just feel like an extension of the high school, that this was just for students, but if you're coming from the community, there was a place where you could gather, that you could be greeted, checked in, and that could really be a meeting place for people. One thing that we're complimented on this is really working. We go on and you'll see that it has 3 courts in it. And when I say courts, not just basketball courts. It's really exciting to see how this is getting used in our community. To give you a little bit of perspective, we have over 300 people on a pickleball email right now. Those are people that range from in their 80s to people that are in their teens, and they play each other. And when you look at this experiment or this vote, and is it working? One thing that we talked about is that it can bring community together. These are people that started social networks through the game of pickleball, and it's facilitated in the space that you help support. And so it's exciting for us. Right after school, you'll see these courts used by basketball. We have a growing amount of people that are in volleyball leagues. You're going to see everything from us hosting things like music to gymnastic meets that we couldn't do. A lot more tournaments in the community. And so I think our businesses are noticing a little bit more of the activity of what we can host and the size of what we can host. You'll see some of the pickleball. Going on, you'll see above this, we have an elevated walking track. Really exciting to me, it was in October, someone came into my office and they said, "Can you tell me how to get to the activity center?" When I gave them directions, she said, "My doctor told me that I should come over here and use the walking track, and that's free for seniors to be able to use as a non-member." I knew we found some success when our medical community was referring people to use this space. Really pleased to tell you that over 100 non-members use this walking track a day. That's a lot of people that are making time each day to come in. That's not even part of our membership. It has fitness areas, and there's over 5 fitness classes a day. There's over 3 aquatic classes a day that are offered, which you both can be able to connect into. And it has a wrestling area for our students. Before, that used to be in the cafeteria. And so right now we're finding a really good use of this space. We're finding that the community is enjoying it. We've had great support for our students. And again, thank you for that. Another point of success is our goal was that we'd have 300 memberships. One of the concerns that was expressed to us when we're talking, besides the tax impact, was, is this going to start draining an operating budget just to pay for utilities and staff? We were originally having the goal of 300 for membership. We're over 620 right now. And so how we pay for our everything from our staff to our utilities to our custodians comes out of that membership. And it's exciting to see it happen the way it is. And then that doesn't include the non-members. We have people from all over the West Metro that are coming in here to play things like pickleball. And so they pay, a lot of these people choose to pay each time that they're coming in, and that also helps pay for it. With the Performing Arts Building, you're in it, and if you have not come, it's one thing to see it right now, but you have to come to a show. If you were here for the Addams Family, or most recently Cinderella, if you like a band concert, if you like choir, we have operettas, and we have speaking engagements that our students and community are involved in. But I strongly encourage you, you will be impressed. You heard our students here just a minute. You're going to hear them again in just a second. But it is well worth your time to come up and listen to these kids. And so, like I said, from the Addams Family to large crowds, we have 611 seats in this space, so we're able to really bring in more people. Our students have spoken on different topics. You have our choir, all ages. You have our band. Cinderella was just this week. I tell you, it was just outstanding. It really was. And of course, you say, well, you're the superintendent. Of course, you're going to say that. You got to talk to other people. It was absolutely outstanding. And so what we're able to do with scenes, and what we're able to do with lighting, and what we're able to do with sets. At the time, there's some people that were asking, do we really need this space in our community? You have a gym and you have a lecture hall. We don't need everything. You attend that in the previous year and you attend it now. And to call it a musical before, with what can happen now, it's 2 different things. And the attendance and the amount of kids that are able to come, and the community members that are able to come, it's just outstanding. We cannot say thank you enough, because it's a completely different experience. And so coming up, Shirley Hills has their operetta. They're doing the 101 Dalmatians. Our middle school has Mary Poppins coming up. Our community theater is going to have The Music Man. And to give you just another little taste of this, what I'm going to ask is is Emma and Nick here? Emma and Nick, can you come out? Emma and Nick are both seniors in our district. They were the leads just recently in Cinderella, and they're going to take us through a song. And the goal is just to highlight some of our acoustics. These two are talented beyond what my introduction can provide. It's really hard to see seniors at this point because each time they're up here performing, I know that I'm hearing one of the last while there's still students here. But they've had leading parts in our musicals for several years, and as great as their voices, they truly are better people. And so it's really an honor to have them here today. This is Emma and Nick.
I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do ya? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 My faith was strong, but you need improve. You saw her bathing on the roof. The beauty in the moonlight overthrew ya. She tied you to a kitchen chair. She broke your throat and she cut your hair. And from your lips she drew a hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Well, baby, I've been here before. I've seen this room and I've walked this floor. I used to live alone before I knew ya. And I've seen your flag on the marble arch. And love is not a victory march. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Well, maybe there's a God above, but all I ever learned from love was how to shoot somebody who outdrew ya. And it's not a cry you can hear at night. It's not somebody who's seen the light. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah,
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Nick. Here's what I would say as they're still standing here. Now try to picture this in our high school gym. Try to picture this in our lecture hall. Thank you for investing in this space, because it's a completely different experience, not just for them, but for our community. So they so often say, thank you. And on behalf of our students, we really mean that with a sincere heart. You guys did great. So sometimes you ask yourself when you start presenting that you should have organized your presentation just a little bit different, and you end on those notes more than they're in the middle of what you're doing. But I want to give you just a few other updates of what's happening in the district. I'm going to go through this quickly. You have a lot of other people to listen to, but right now in the Westonka district, we have a long tradition of success. You can be really proud of our teachers. You can be really proud of our principals. You can be proud of our students most of all. We look at how they're ranking on different test scores, and they're in the top of the state, and they rank well in the nation. You have a lot of different people that try to give you information and ratings on schools. And, you know, everyone has their own bias of how they rank schools a little bit different. But you're going to see Westonka, along with a lot of schools across the West Metro, ranking really high. And so that's a great community that we live in. It's a great area that we live in. And it really speaks to your support of education. In the bottom corner there, you see Cory Bowman. Cory was the Minnesota Teacher of the Year. He just came off of that. Just a great, it's wonderful for our community. Just putting that on the map as he was in Washington, D.C. and many other places, being able to say, I teach in the Westonka School District, and referencing our community. One thing that we're proud of our kids is how they give back. So this was a weekend fundraiser. Most recently, we had Stuff the Bus, and so great contributions by our students. It's been a great winter of activity success, and so going through some of these, it's fun again how these kids represent our community on the stage, on the ice, on the court. Recently, we just got news of DECA, and DECA is a marketing entrepreneurial program that many of our kids are involved in. Over 19 are going to internationals. It's an outstanding number, but briefly, there was 120 that went to state. And what's really exciting about that number is that's 15% of our student body that went to state. And what's really exciting about that is when you listen to the work that goes into being in DECA, that's like another full academic course that you're taking on of presenting, writing papers, and they're doing it at a high level. What's even more exciting is a lot of these projects are centered around improving our community. School safety, you see different things about this. Again, I don't get so hung up in these rankings. We had this ranking come out. It's respected. They said we're the second safest. I don't know how you say that, to be honest. And I can say that because we got ranked that. It would sound defensive if we didn't have a good number and say, I don't know how they come up with that. But what I do know that we do well, first of all, is we do a good job with student engagement. Small class sizes, diverse programs. It's as important to have programs like a caring football coach as it is a caring counselor. Kids connect in different ways with different people, and we help them through their stress. We have great systematic levels of support, but it is true when you hear in the community the need right now for counseling. That isn't lip service, that is a true need with our kids. Their mental health is something that needs to be taken serious and support. That's not just in this district, but many. We've been doing some physical improvements to our community to try to make them more secure. And we get into how we finance these efforts. And here's the trick that's been really working for Westonka lately is that we have growing enrollment. Right now, state funding doesn't keep up with inflation. And the way that we've been able to compensate that is our enrollment is increasing. In fact, this last year it went up 100 students. That's a lot. That's going to plateau though, and we're going to need to start thinking of how we're going to finance our current program differently. So you look at our growth of enrollment, it's been really positive. To get through this year, we're proposing to balance our budget. Every year we do, we always attack by going after some reductions, and so this year I'll be proposing to the board in April $300,000 worth of reductions. We're going to use a little bit of our fund balance to minimize any impact to the classroom, but that's not a sustainable effort. You can't keep on using fund balance. And so what you're going to see coming up is on April 30th at 7, we're going to have a meeting that's a little bit longer, a little bit more detailed on facilities and finances. I would encourage everyone that could attend, please attend, because we really want to present how we see moving forward, and then we'd be looking for your feedback on making sure we take the best course for the community. One thing that we continue to be able to demonstrate is we have the lowest taxes of any school district in Hennepin County, and that's not just by a little bit. And that's by doing things like when your interest comes in lower than what your bond is, your board says, we're going to give that back to the community, our project is set. It's examples of how we've been able to accomplish that. So I just want to end on the note that it's really a privilege to work in this community. It's a privilege to work on your behalf. If you ever have questions, I'm very accessible. Give me a call, email, would be happy to meet with you. And again, if you want a tour of this facility afterwards, I'd be happy to do that. Thank you for your time.
I want to move right along. Up next, we're going to have Lisa Whalen from the city of Minnetrista. Lisa, the stage is yours. Lisa and I are going to have a little bit more of a question and answer dialogue. So Lisa, if you would introduce yourself, and then maybe I'll ask you a couple of curveball questions.
So when I was talking to Colin, he said I would have as much time as I wanted to take. So this ends at 8 o'clock, right? No, so first I just want to make a few opening remarks. I just first of all want to thank the WCC, Westonka Community and Commerce, for hosting this event. It's always an opportunity, a wonderful opportunity, a great opportunity for city officials such as myself and the mayors here this evening, and also Mr. Borg, to connect with its residents, its constituents, and to have that feedback from you as well. So with that, I just, again, I'm just going to take a few minutes and say a few things. First of all, I've been the mayor for about 4.5 years, and I have to say with sincerity, it has been an honor and a privilege to serve the residents of Minnetrista, and I mean that sincerely. I know a lot of politicians say that, but that is meant from the heart. There's a lot of things that have been going on in Minnetrista. As you know, we are a large community geographically. We only are about 7,800, approximately 7,800 in population, but our land area is about 32 square miles, so that's a large area. We are also a diverse community from a geographical standpoint, and what I mean by that is that we have our newer developments are small lots, our older developments are larger lots. We have a lot of lakes in our community, so we have lake lots, small and large. And then we have our area that's called our rural area, and that consists of much larger acreage lots, anywhere from 3 on up to 20 or more acres per lot. And then we also have another area that's called an agricultural area, and that's 40 acres on up. And we have several Thank you. We have several actually active farmers and farms in Minnetrista. What this says is this is diversity, and all these different areas have different needs. That is a challenge that the City Council faces on a daily basis, because the person out there that's farming or that has a hobby farm or 40 acres or 10 acres has different needs than the person on a small developed lot. And so those are that's one of the challenges. Of course, as you know, in this past winter, it has been challenging to get all of our roads plowed and cleared. And I used to be able to say 41 paved roads in the city. Now with our growth, we have 51 miles of bituminous roads. In addition, we have 20 miles of gravel roads. And we don't have a huge Public Works Department, but I can tell you this winter, they have been fantastic, and they have stepped up to the plate and done a wonderful job. And I just want to mention that because there's been days where they've been out there plowing in snow drifts and snow and sleet and rain, and also working on broken pipes and so on. So they've been doing a fantastic job. In fact, I just want to say we have a wonderful, fantastic staff at City Hall. These are individuals that are very knowledgeable in their profession. They are committed to serving the residents of Minnetrista, and it's been a pleasure working with them as well. So I won't take up too many more minutes, Colin. You don't have to worry. I won't really talk until 8 o'clock, I promise. Yeah, okay. So just a couple of things. We will talk. I think some questions will be coming, so I'll answer those, and then if I have anything else to say, maybe I'll end up with that.
So can you maybe tell us maybe 4 priorities 4 to 5 priorities for the city of Minnetrista moving forward?
So we just recently had a strategic planning session and a goal-setting session a few weeks back, and some of the priorities that we identified is continue work on our infrastructure, primarily roads. We have a number of roads in our community that are literally falling apart, as you may have noticed as you entered the school district here. That is one road that is on our radar screen, and we hope to get that redone in 2020. We are going to be talking with the school district about that. We also have a number of roads, Duchesne Lane, Duchesne Circle, and also Ox Yoke, that we are going to be doing reclamation projects on. So road projects are going to continue to be our number one priority. The other issue that we have to address is our water tower in the southwest corner. We don't have enough adequate pressure for firefighting, and we don't have enough storage capacity because of our growth. So we will be looking at a site, and we've identified a site, and we hope to be moving forward with that sometime this year. If not this year, it will happen early next year. The other priority that we will continue with is citizen engagement. When I came on board, one of my initiatives was citizen engagement, involving the community and also reaching out to our citizens. We've done that in a number of ways. We started out by improving our website and updating that and making it more user-friendly. And we also now do an annual bus tour, and I would highly recommend, if you haven't been able to join us, please do, because it's fun and exciting. Not only do you see all of Minnetrista, but you learn about its history as well. So a lot of different citizen engagement activities, Trista Days we're continuing with, and citizen engagement activities. Those would maybe be the top 3. There's more, I'm sure, but I'll just end with that.
What about the future of Minnetrista? It's the city with no real downtown city. What's the comprehensive plan long-term for the city?
Well, the comprehensive plan, so that's something that is updated every 10 years, and the City Council just recently passed our 2040 comprehensive plan. What that says, it spells out a number of things. So we have, if you look at the comprehensive plan, it's about this thick, literally, and it includes all things such as our stormwater management plan, our housing plan, our land use plan, parks and trails plan, sewer and water plan, transportation. So there's all these different plans within the comprehensive plan. Really, Minnetrista in the next 10 or 15, and I hope even 20 or more years, isn't going to change a lot. We were able to achieve all of the requirements by the Met Council within the current MUSA. MUSA stands for Metropolitan Urban Service Area. So we are not expanding that or moving that in any direction. The only thing we're doing is adding a couple of parcels along Highway 7, and they are going to be zoned commercially. We will continue to have development, but the current areas that are currently zoned for development will remain as such. What we were able to do is we took one small portion in Minnetrista along Highway 7 and increased the density there, and that would enabled us not to have to move the MUSA line further. And the reason we wanted to do that is we heard loud and clear from the community, and I agree with this, that we would like to keep Minnetrista rural and agricultural as long as possible. About 70%, maybe even more, geographically speaking, of Minnetrista remains rural and farming today. We really hope to keep that way for a long period of time.
So this commercial development would be between like 44 and Kings Point?
It would be just west of Kings Point, yes.
Okay.
And also around Kings Point, that is the Woodland Cove development. It consists of 1,071 units, and those are continued to be built out. That will be the majority of our units coming in over the next 10 years. This past year in 2018, we issued or went out the door 122 new home building permits, mostly in the Westonka School District. That might have something to do with the increase in the Westonka School District. And so that will continue over the next probably eight years or so, again, depending on how fast those building permits come in.
What's your favorite thing about being the mayor of Minnetrista?
I think meeting residents, talking to them about what their needs are and what they like and what they need help with. I think, sometimes being mayor isn't so fun, but it is, and it can be challenging. But I think one of the key issues is trying to be creative and solving difficult problems. And when we, not only myself, but when myself and the council and staff can work together to come up with creative solutions for difficult problems, That's really what I like to do, and that's really the thing about being a mayor or a council member, I think, that all of us enjoy. So helping people is another issue, talking to them, meeting with them. I love meeting with people and getting to know the residents in our community. I also just want to say, being on the council and being the mayor, you also feel like you're a part of the community. So that is also another aspect.
Lisa, thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'll leave you with my microphone since I don't know how to use it.
That's all good. Thank you. All right, next up, we're going to have Denny speak. Denny is the, is this your second term as mayor?
Working on the second term now.
Yeah. So Denny, of course, the mayor of Orono. He is our neighbor to the north and east. I always find it interesting that we're a community at Westonka, but we don't share community borders necessarily. So it's great to have you be a part of our organization. Denny, welcome. Denny, if you would maybe introduce yourself, and then I got a couple of tough ones for you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I am Denny Walsh. Like you said, I'm in 4.5 years on the council, 2.5 years as mayor now. And for those of you who don't know me, I've been an Orono resident for about going on 18 years now. And I've got 2 older boys who are out of college in the workforce and off the family payroll, knocking on wood. And I have 2 young daughters who are in 5th grade and 7th grade doing a lot of dance and horse riding and gymnastics. So we're running around Orono all the time. So it's always good to get out there and see residents do all that stuff. So that's a little bit about me. I'm in the commercial real estate business, so it kind of lends itself pretty well to understanding kind of infrastructure in the community, which has kind of helped me, give me a little bit of a leg up in terms of knowledge of the inner workings of the engineering and roads and infrastructure and all that goes with it.
So Denny, speaking of roads, if anybody's had a lot of road construction and or maybe a need for road construction, Orono has had a lot going on. Can you give us an update on what's happening there?
Yes, when I first got on the council a few years ago, we had no roads budget, and one of the biggest things that have kind of really been in front of us is that we needed to bring ourselves into the 21st century from a technology standpoint, which then helps us understand our budgeting for all the different infrastructure that we have. And because we got roads, we've got water, we got sewer, we got all the utilities under there, and by bringing some of the technology into the city, and that not only means better internet service, especially at the city level, but also we brought in 3D technology for all of our roads, so you can look at all the roads across Orono and know when we did them. You can look at the underground and know where the actual utilities and the water and sewer are, and click on any portion of that, and it'll tell you when we fixed it, how much it cost us, when it's due to get fixed again, which then helps you understand what you need to budget for. And some of the biggest things that we needed to do is make sure these budgets are in place and they can stand alone. And as a business guy, I've always, I'm a budget-oriented person, and when you have water and you have sewer and you have roads, those are like 3 business units from my perspective. And they need to stand alone, and they need to be able to stand alone from a business unit perspective to pay for themselves. Meaning, when our water rates, our sewer rates, and everything else, when you've got, say, 50 miles of road, and it's a 25-year period of when their useful life, you've got to do 2 miles a year. Well, that means for 2 miles a year, you have to have so much budget, which means you have to have enough reserves to be able to pay for that, so you don't get to somewhere and you go, oh my God, I've run out of money, but I got 2 more miles of road to take care of, and there's no money to take care of it. So that has helped us make sure we understand how to put roads budget in place. And when we get back to roads, when I first got on the council, we have 0 roads budget, and we needed about $1 million a year. And so now we're probably up to, I think, a little under $600,000 a year. We're kind of creeping ourselves up, and we're starting to capture depreciation and reserves for all of our underground utilities. And I told the finance guy in our office, Ron, that when I'm not here anymore, you will know that we're at least funded for all our underground utilities and our roads. Because I've always looked at being in public life as kind of like being on a nonprofit. And maybe a lot of you have volunteered in nonprofits over the years, and you're only going to be on there for so many years, and the goal is when you leave that you've left it better than when you were there. And then your goal is to recruit other people to make sure that when you leave that they will carry on the tradition of running it the way you've run it as well, so it just doesn't fall apart. And so we've also done, speaking of what the Mayor of Minnetrista has talked about, of community outreach, is we have repopulated our Parks Commission, which we had nothing 4 years ago. We've got a development review committee that looks at all of our codes so we can redo the codes. We always say if we have good rules, you got to follow them. But if they're bad rules, we'll change them or we'll get rid of them. And we needed to give the staff a little bit more flexibility to make decisions for people so they don't have to go through the process of coming through the variance process, which takes 2 months to come to the city, because we want to get government out of the way as much as possible. And we kind of ran on the slogan a few years ago of bringing yes back to Orono, because we want to make sure it's easier for people to do those things. We want you to fix your house. We want you to be able to get it done correctly by following the rules of a reasonable way of doing it. And so all that stuff between technology and budgeting is all that's going in place right now, and technology helps all that, and that's the kind of legacy that I want to make sure that we have in Orono for today and for moving forward. That's a long answer for your roads question.
Yeah, you covered like all 6 of my questions with one answer. So what in Orono, what are you guys doing to partner with the community, maybe in a broader sense? I mean, you touched on it briefly, but.
Yeah, well, we also wanted to kind of reach out for doing, we very much believe in public-private partnerships. A few examples of those that we've got going on even currently today. If everybody's familiar with East Long Lake Road, that kind of goes around Long Lake. It was kind of falling into the lake and in total disrepair, and it's right on the edge, so everything kind of washes into the lake. But we ended up closing that. We're going to convert that to a complete walking trail, a nature trail, and you can fish down there and that kind of stuff. But we're partnering with the DNR and the Watershed District and a number of other agencies to get grants to make sure we do this right. And we've got a very committed Parks Commission of, it's got to be 12 or 13 people that are going to make sure that that's working well, so we're bringing those people in. We have one of the first in the state, we have Xerxes, and I know our police chief is back here, that we have as our local police dog, essentially, and he's out there on a mission to show that he can be a comfort dog to people who are out there in lots of different situations. And we had the Can Do Canine operation, which spent 2 years training and about $25,000 worth of time, donate that service dog to our police community. And then we had another person, Richie Anderson of North Shore Marina, who is also a very dedicated resident, donate the next 5 years of what it costs to maintain the food and getting the shots and all the care that it takes. And so it's bringing in more people, like Lisa said, community involvement, getting more people involved in understanding what government does, how we do it, and just showing how dedicated our residents are. And we have other examples like that with the parks that we're redoing. I think right now we're looking at Beaterwood. We just got a grant from the state on that, or from the, I think it's the county, to redo that whole field because we need more places for our soccer teams and our football teams and our baseball teams to be able to be in our community versus having to go outside of our community to take advantage of our ball fields, where they don't own the ball fields, but for a small fee they can, essentially, they will maintain the fields, but we will get it all taken care of and done, and so our youth sports can take advantage of that as well. So we definitely are trying to get as much community involvement as well, because I think it's important that people understand and want to work with the government, and which is the city itself, and participate. I think the more eyes and the more heads, we come up with a lot of great ideas, which is what it's all about.
Final question. What's your favorite part about being mayor of Orono?
Well, not unlike what Lisa said, it's great to meet the people. I mean, we are a town generally of about 8,000 people, and you get to touch a lot of people out there, their houses, their property. And the funnest part is, you tell people, I always tell people I'm all available for calls, for emails, for coffee, whatever it happens to be. And because everybody has got, there's some issue that's out there that maybe has never gotten solved, and I'm willing to put my head out there and see if we can solve it. Because that's bringing yes back to Orono. And I remember a good example of that is we had somebody who had a street that was like 6 feet on their property. And they came and they said, yeah, Orono says they'll just never take care of it and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, that's the weirdest thing ever. Our street shouldn't be on your property. And I brought the public works guy out there and our city administrator said, we need to move this off their property. It's a no-brainer. If we caused this problem, we need to fix it and take ownership of it. And so we did. And so solving issues like that, or whether it's permit issues and you can help get the right direction into the staff to make sure that it gets done correctly. I think that's what our as leaders in the community, we need to be available for those things and help grease the skids for all the decisions that need to get made so we can bring yes back to everybody's city.
Thank you, Denny. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we got a tag team between Eric and Ray from the city of Mound. If you guys would come up, Eric Hoversten, city manager from the city of Mound, and Ray Salazar. Obviously, they're both community members as well. And Ray, you've been in the community a long time, right?
Yes.
Right? So, 27 years. That's almost as long as I've been alive. I know Ray well. Sorry to give you trouble.
His biggest customer.
Yes, exactly. So Mound's got a lot of stuff going on. So I thought I'd maybe start with downtown development. Eric's walking away. This has been a highly contested and debated and very interesting study and process. Do you want to give us an update on where we're at down there?
Sure. First of all, let me tell you, I'm Ray Salazar. I'm your mayor. I just started this. I was elected in November. I was on our city council for the past 10 years, serving under 2 other mayors. It's, as everyone has said, it's an honor and a pleasure to be on the city council and now as your mayor. So, in answer to your question, in September of 2018, the city of Mound entered into and approved a purchase agreement with Homestead Partners and GMS Homes, custom home builder. They were to build approximately 1/3 on 1/3 of the shirt. Anything else?
I'll take a club.
Okay, anyway, they were going to build out approximately 1/3 of the green space that we presently have at the Harbor District to build 21 luxury townhomes. That was entered, that purchase agreement started in September of 2018, or rather signatures applied then. Subsequent to the signing of the purchase agreement, both the city and the developer have been performing some due diligence. Inspection, site planning, land use approvals necessary, all for the final sale. The developer identified several challenges related to the condition of the land that are different from the assumptions that they made in their initial proposal. In other words, they found some soil that they thought they were going to have some challenges with to build on. The developer has approached city staff and the city council with proposed changes to the purchase agreement. In other words, they want to change everything, okay? We listened to them. We listened to them, we met with them. They had some valid concerns. We have weighed those changes and the magnitude of those changes against our initial project assumptions and our project objectives. In other words, what we were trying to achieve. And the council determined, my notes here, please.
Just last evening, right? This is hot off the press.
Hot off the press. These papers are quite warm. The council determined that the proposed terms of the purchase agreement no longer are in the best interest of the city. So it wasn't a good deal for us, simply put. The developer has indicated that they will withdraw the agreement absent of any changes, in other words, that they want in the purchase agreement. So in other words, they're going to leave. They're not going to do this project, at least right now. It appears to be at an impasse. We have conveyed our feelings on this to them that we are not interested in renegotiating the purchase agreement. So the ball is back in their court and they're thinking about it, and that's where it is. So we are at an impasse.
So then across the street, we have Commerce Place, which is largely vacant today with the exception of Anytime Fitness. And Is it the restaurant still there too? Yeah.
Yeah,
Those are the two only occupants, correct?
yes.
Southwest Vision?
Southwest Vision's there too, yes, thank you.
That one's for Eric.
I got these from here. So
Okay.
Eric, would you maybe fill us in on the developments at Commerce Place?
Yep, and just to explain the handout here, because of where we're at in the process, we knew this was a point of interest for the community, but it would be inappropriate for the mayor or a member of council to really talk in depth about this project because they have yet to make or contribute to the debate and the decision on this project. And so what I can tell you about the Commerce Place development is somewhat well-known in our community, and then there are some other things that have sort of evolved just recently. They approached the community in a neighborhood meeting format last April, maybe March, with a proposal to basically convert the shopping center to an apartment complex. They received good feedback from our community about the importance of some of that commercial space. I think it's no secret that the gym facility there is a very, very value-added amenity in our community. So they took the feedback that they received in their first neighborhood meeting, went back to the drawing board, chewed on that, chewed on financials, chewed on who they could bring into the project from some of the surrounding areas, and came back in November with a second proposal to the community at a neighborhood meeting that at this point is what they have brought to the city in a concept plan. And that concept is a 4-story gabled apartment building on the south end of the site. Basically, everything from the south wall of the 2-story portion of the existing shopping center would go away. Some buffer space, some drive lanes, an apartment building. They would retain the commercial space that is the 2-story component of the existing shopping center, the space that used to be the clinic, that is the fitness center at this point. It's a 100-unit proposal. It's a market rate proposal. It is not intended to be senior living, assisted living. We've met those criteria or those housing demands in our community with the Harrison Bay Senior Living project that's just up the street here. It is not intended to be subsidized in any way. It is not luxury, but to borrow from the Jeffersons, it's perhaps best described as deluxe. Market rate amenities that are responsive to the sort of outdoor atmosphere that Mound and Lake Minnetonka brings to our community. They brought that concept formally to the city in January. The Planning Commission received that in concept sketch review, which is an informal conversation. No decisions are made from a sketch plan. An informal conversation between our Planning Commission and the developer and staff with regard to the elements of the proposal and any issues or concerns that might be teased out at this early stage in the process. On the 26th of March, that same concept sketch and all of the comments from the Planning Commission and staff will go to the council, and the council will have that same informal conversation with the developer and staff, teasing out those same, perhaps, or some additional concerns. That's a more formal process than the neighborhood meeting process. They will take those comments back to their drawing board again and make some decisions about whether or not they want to proceed moving forward with the project and actually submit formal applications. We anticipate that they will be able to bring the project to that stage, and we're in wait-and-see mode as they work through their discussion with the council in sketch plan review, and then any further determinations that they may make in regard to what final proposal they may bring to the city for planning application, project approval, and things like that. There are 3 basic elements in trade and a 4th item that's out of their control. In order to preserve the 2-story component of the existing shopping center and the fitness center occupant that is in that, they have taken what their original proposal was from 3 stories to 4 stories. So there's a height question. There's a parking question because of the fourth issue, which is the bank does not see a need at this point or for the foreseeable future for them to change their configuration and the presentation of their branch here in Mound. And so the space where the bank sits is separately owned and cannot be assembled into any changes or solutions to the site. And so because of that, there are some constraints that lead back to the developer's control to how they are planning on parking an apartment activity there. And so those are the things that we expect to be teased out in the sketch plan process. Again, council will see that on the 26th of March at their regular meeting, and then it'll go back to the developer for them to work on in their secret science cave. Hopefully to come back with formal applications later in the summer, perhaps planning activities in the fall.
So this could be for both of you. What about the existing commercial space, the stuff we already have in town? Is there plans to repurpose that, reuse it? I mean, because obviously if there's 4 or 5 new commercial spaces for new tenants, we already have a vacancy issue perhaps in town. What happens to those spaces?
That's a great question. I think there's a couple things in play. One, we as a community are out of proportion in terms of active retail and commercial activities and the space that we have available for them. So there's a supply and demand problem that I think is getting difficult more so every day as we see changes in the general retail marketplace. Just about every week you can see an announcement from some major brand or brand group that in the coming years they expect to close more shops than they are going to open. Or in some cases, they're just going to close all of them. And that doesn't bode well for a community that already has a out-of-balance supply to the demand that currently exists, let alone what might be out there in the future. And we've all shopped from our couch on the internet, and that's part of what's going on here. And so one of the things that I think should happen is there should be some form of graceful rebalancing of the supply to better meet demand. And without foreshadowing a discussion about the Commerce Place proposal, this is an example of what that might look like, where an owner is willing to repurpose a property into something that's different than what's not working there right now and is different from what might be contributing to this supply-demand imbalance that we have. On a different sort of track, the city can be very active or can be somewhat passive in encouraging or enticing development. We can offer redevelopment incentives, tax increment financing for projects that qualify. We can assemble land, so we can go buy up properties. We've done this in the past. And we control what the offer price is, part of the discussion with the Harbor Townhomes, so that we can attract particular business activities or particular development outcomes. But one of the things that we've determined is any type of activity like that might put our existing brick and mortar business and property owners at risk. Because anything the city would do to create new property and be able to offer back on the marketplace at a price point that would be competitive in our marketplace would be competing with what private owners already have available. And there's some pretty significant philosophical conflict that presents itself in that statement, that we as a city, that the council in the past has said, you know what, as a government activity, we don't belong in the business of competing with our private property owners. And so that takes things like the city assembling properties and offering them for sale at incentivized pricing off the table. And that's okay. What that leaves us with goes back to my supply and demand discussion. We're going to rely on the marketplace if we're not going to do it ourselves, which means we go back to talking about what the market can provide, whether supply is out of proportion with demand, and what things should be done to try to balance that out. It's a very complicated balancing act between the market, our existing stakeholders, and what we might want to create as a community character for the city of Mound and how we go about doing that. And right now it's a wait for the marketplace posture. We can all help that by shopping local and making this a viable market where people, retailers, business owners know that the people in Westonka shop in Westonka. So go out there and create business. But we have to demonstrate that commitment and that resolve first.
Great answer. That was very in-depth. It was impressive. Maybe I'm going to go back to you one more time just because I can pick on you. And I've got you here. Let's talk about roads really quick. If the mayors had their city managers here, they would have had them answer the roads question too. Mound has had an enormous amount of road and utility improvement work, and you and I have talked about this. This summer is going to be no better, is it?
I think within the city limits, it's going to get better. We're still affected by the County Road 44 project right in Mound. We are substantially complete with the city's street reconstruction program. We still have some water system work that's going to be in the streets, and we still have some sewer work that's going to be in the streets. And so you'll still see us coming out and disrupting things in neighborhoods, but nothing like shutting down 3 Points or shutting down Tuxedo Boulevard for the last 3 summers in a row, or participating in a project that shut down County Road 44. I think for everybody in the Westonka community, it's important to understand that the county has some significant projects on the horizon that are going to affect all of us, Mound included, that are outside of our city limits. Some of them in Orono, and Mayor Walsh, I don't intend to speak for Orono, but the biggest one that we see, the two that we see, are the reconstruction of the County Road 1519 intersection there in Navarre. Has to be very carefully coordinated with the County Road 44 reopening, because that would actually be 3 of the 4 ways out of Mound. And so that needs to be looked at very carefully. Regardless of how carefully the coordination is looked at, believe me, closing down, disrupting, delaying, lane shifts, whatever you want to talk about how they might be able to do that project under construction, for all of our commuters that commute to the east on either the 15 or the 19 corridor, that project is going to be a challenge. Hopefully, while they have traffic reconditioned during that project, they will also take care of the Arcola Bridge resurfacing and the Tanninger Bridge structural defect repair work. The Tanninger Bridge work is likely to close County Road 15 in all directions because of the abutment work that has to be done with it. Again, another very significant impact to all of Westonka regional traffic that we have to be prepared for. So maybe the answer to your question is no, traffic isn't going to get any better, but I'm not the one doing it to you.
Got it. I'll call county. I'll call county this time. Ray, do you have anything you'd like to add to that at all on any of his talking points, either with Commerce Place, the business district, or the roads improvements?
No, it's the roads. The roads are not our fault. That's it.
So I don't get misquoted by the county somehow, since this is going to be on TV. When we meet with the county as managers and administrators, one of the things I often hear is when is the county going to come to our corner of the world? We have been very fortunate, and I thank the county for the work, in spite of the disruption that it causes. This work in our area will largely renew the county surfaces as well. And so these are important projects. Tanninger Bridge is unsafe for heavyweight vehicles at this point in time. They need to be done, and while they do disrupt, and while I can tongue-in-cheek chide that it's going to be painful, but I'm not doing it to you, it is important that the county gets these jobs done, and I think at some level we need to be grateful that they are focusing some of our county tax dollars and bringing some of the state aid dollars right to our corner of Hennepin County. And these improvements will be important. We need to tread water to get through them. We need to adapt to the disruption that they're going to cause, but they will be important improvements, and we'll be grateful when they're done.
Thank you. I think that's all. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Ray and Eric. Thank you guys for coming out. Again, close your eyes and imagine the traffic leaving here tonight. It's just so busy. But no, I really appreciate y'all coming out and braving the fog and rain and sleet and ice and snow. We have all seasons. I even think I heard a clap of thunder today driving around, believe it or not. So it has just been a really, really crazy winter. Again, Westonka Community and Commerce, look us up online. We'd love for you guys to be a part of our organization in a more meaningful way. And again, for the mayors, do get involved with your city. They want your feedback. They want your help. And they really appreciate you guys being a part of their community. Thank you again for coming. Have a great night and drive safe.